Without wasting too much time, I would like to welcome in the program the Ambassador Eshhaq Al-Habib to Ireland. As Ambassador, you're very welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You recently joined a few months ago, in fact. How do you find Ireland? Cold?
It's a good country, kind people, very respectful people.
Good,
yeah.
Good. So it's a new to you. Obviously, it'll take a while for you to familiarize yourself with the government and
Absolutely.
settle down and all the rest of it. The
Yes.
Ireland and Iran relationship has been very cordial for years.
Yes.
And previous ambassador, I had a privilege of meeting all of them, in fact, and we managed to get through to a lot of issues, and everything has been very, as I said, cordial, but very cautious. How do you find it? Have you had much interaction so far?
Yes. As you said that we have a very cordial relation with Ireland. Ireland actually is respecting very much international law. It's traditionally it's a neutral country, and also Ireland have peacekeeping forces around the world, and taking into account also the history of the Ireland that was colonialized, and there is a kind of similarity in fighting, foreign occupation and those things between Iran and Ireland. And there have been always good relation between two countries, but as you said that every country has their own, precautionary approach toward international issues, taking into account their relation with different countries, and as well as the size of the countries and the economic situation and many other things,
Absolutely.
And we respect that.
Yeah. I mean, as you touched it just now, what is the size of the economic relationships like between Ireland and Iran? Is it a big or is it gone shrunk?
For the time, it was good before the sanction, but taking into account the maximum pressure and sanction by the United States, and unfortunately, they snapped back that the European Union made in United Nations. Therefore, the European country, including Ireland, are very cautious in having economic relation with Iran. Therefore, for the time being, we do not have so much, economic relation, as well as political relation also.
Political relations, yeah. Students, I've heard recently on a program over the weekend that a lot of Iranians, PhD students, are having difficulty of getting visas, even if they are getting a position, getting a place in the university and colleges, and they don't get visa. So how do you view this kind of behavior of the local government?
Yeah, it's, again, an unfortunate situation that we are facing, our people are facing, particularly in Europe, including in Ireland, while you know that Iranian students are very good students around the world and very successful in scientific field. And again, during last at least 1 year that I know, the Irish government have not issued so much visa for the student, maybe in a very rare situation. And again, in my own view, it is related to the approach and the antagonistic approach of the United States toward Iran, and the sanction, as I said. Otherwise, the government of Ireland, are very, respectful, and we have a very good mutual understanding about many issues. But you're right, it's again another problem that issuing visa for a student from Iran.
I've noticed, because I'm dealing with quite a lot of these issues coming from the students, that Ireland has got two-tier system of education. One is private education, one is the government, semi-government or government universities like UCD,
Yes.
Trinity College, and outside as well. And sometimes the private education institutions like Griffith College,
Absolutely.
what's it called? DBS, Dublin Business School, and many other private institutes are surged with Indian students. They are completely packed with Indian students,
Yes.
and they're charging huge amount of money. And last year, I remember talking to the Indian ambassador that about 10,000 students came. 10,000. Imagine the kind of economy they are bringing in.
Yeah.
So do you think the Iranian students would also be capable of paying a private money, something like that?
Sure, there was an agreement between Griffith University and one of the university in Iran for their students to come here in the Griffith for at least studying for about 1 year. And they applied visa, and while the university is private and the payment, as far as I know,
Gone through.
Yeah, it come through. And I know that the university itself, following the matters, but unfortunately, the Department of Justice haven't issued visa. Department of Justice or Department of
Department of Justice,
haven't issued visa for those students, and they are still following the matters through the University of Griffith.
This particular problem exists in Ireland because there is a general perception of prejudice of certain countries, particularly in the Middle Eastern countries, and Iran probably will be part of that, would be. And we're trying to actually highlight that, and in the media itself as well. I've seen your wonderful interview the other day on Mary McCallaghan on Prime Time. But as I said, there is a general perception, which they don't know the actual picture of the country, but it's the general perception that leads to all these kind of prejudices, so to speak.
Sure.
I will continue following various before I move into the main discussion about the present war. But first of all, I would like to pay my respect and my condolences to the demise of the late Sayyid Ali Khamenei, the Rahbar, the spiritual leader of not only Iran, but all the other different countries where people had following him. And a couple of days ago, yesterday or day before yesterday, the head of the security, Sayyid Ali Larijani. So my deepest condolences. And of course, how can I not mention 175 schoolgirls in Minab, in the suburb of Tehran, where they were indiscriminately killed by the Tomahawk missile by the United States. Straight away, United States have denied that, but then it was proven that it was a Tomahawk missile that killed that, and that the U.S. has got all that. But our deepest condolences, and particularly the sincere prayers for the death of all these people, and ongoing war. But I will continue that, but I must take a quick ad break, the first ad break, and then I'll come back to the actual discussion of what is going on right now as we speak, where the war is still happening.
Dublin South FM. You wouldn't buy a car without knowing its history. So why would you buy a story without knowing who's telling it? Come here and I tell you. It's not always easy to verify what you see, read or hear. But now there's help. Visit www.bemediasmart.ie. Stop, think, check. Be Media Smart. Brought to you by Media Literacy Ireland, supported by RTE. 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Welcome back to the programme, and you're listening to SIRAJ ZAIDI until 4 o'clock, and we do have a honoured guest in the studio today, the Ambassador of Iran to Ireland, Mr. Eshhaq Al-Habib, those who have just joined us. Just to give you a talk back on that I'm in discussion with him in the studio live, talking about the current situation in the Middle East and vis-a-vis the war between Iran and US and Israel, who imposed war and preemptive strike happened on the 28th of February. That has started, and while the peace negotiations were happening, in the middle of the peace negotiation in Geneva, and then through the mediator Qatar, and right in the middle of those discussions, as it happened before in the same thing where the 12 days of war happened, that was also in the middle of discussion. So I'll start from that, Ambassador, if you take our listeners to this pattern of behavior of these despicable enemies of Iran vis-a-vis Israel and USA. Why they have behaved in this way when civilized way of discussion was going on.
Thank you very much. Thank you for expressing your sympathy, condolences, and solidarity with Iranian people. We are in a very critical and difficult situation, and this is not the bar of our choice. And Iran, as you know, is a peace lover country from the beginning. During last 200 years, we have not attacked any country in the world, in our neighborhood, as well as the other side of the world. But we have been attacked many times during World War I, World War II, and we had 8 years imposed war by Saddam Hussein that encouraged, motivated, and supported financially, militarily, by the United States, and that some, unfortunately,
UK
countries,
well.
the UK and some countries in the region, in our neighboring countries, and that Germany supported with chemical weapons Saddam Hussein and many others, But Iran stood on its foot, and we defeated Saddam Hussein, and we, very hardly defeated, and therefore we have been attacked, not invading any country. This time also, unfortunately, as you rightly mentioned, several times we have been cheated by the United States, once by the JCPOA nuclear deal that we had with them after long negotiations, and everything was okay till Trump came to power as president in his first term, and then that he withdrew. Withdrew from the JCPOA, and then a lot of problem that time, and in the second time during just last 9 months. First, we were under negotiation, and in the middle of the negotiation, they attacked Iran, Israeli, and United States, and a lot of atrocities they made in Iran, killing innocent people and a lot of our officials and commanders. And again, after 9 months, we were on the middle of the negotiation with their representative. It had been, successful negotiation, and as it was acknowledged by the Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Oman, and but suddenly again, and just 2 days before the negotiation that were supposed technically between Iran and IAEA in Vienna, they attacked Iran this time together from the beginning, and they killed not only the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran that you rightly mentioned. He was not just, supreme leader of Iran. He was a religious leader around the world, respected very much. And then they killed many, many other officials and
his family as well.
innocent angels, the girls in the school, and many other. And they are, cruelly and very savagely attacking not only killing innocent people, public building. And now they started, unfortunately, attacking infrastructure, economic infrastructure, and many other things. Heritage infrastructure, and nobody in the world, unfortunately, can stop them.
This is exactly what I wanted to reach to the point that in this world with 56 Muslim countries roughly around, leave aside the Muslim and Islam religion, but in the entire globe with the powerful countries like China, can we not have some coalition or consensus of those countries to raise this particular point?
Again, unfortunately, this geopolitical dimension of the war, and it is very important. You can see things through this aspect of relation between important countries around the world. And I am absolutely sure, according to different analysis by many important people around the world, the United States and Israel, they are following two important strategies, as mentioned by themselves. First, Israeli regime is an expansionist regime, and that just was mentioned by the ambassador of United States in Israel and many others. They are following to expand their land in the Middle East, and therefore they want to be the hegemon power in the region. As well as the United States, because China is progressing very fast, and they are losing, United States, their stance in the world, particularly economically. They are in a very desperate situation. They don't know what to do to stop the progress of China, and therefore they are doing, the very crazy things around the world. In Venezuela, in Cuba, in Europe, Greenland, and particularly in Middle East, because they want to stay at the hegemon power in the world. Therefore, the policy of these two countries are very clear. Why the others do not,
stop them?
Because, every country just follow its own, short-sighted, maybe, interest, They don't want to stand against United States. That's why, for example, what happened in Venezuela, the world were very quiet. And what happened, the European Union, just in regard with Greenland, they show, unity among themselves, and they oppose the policy of Trump administration and so on. Otherwise, the representative of Denmark, while their foreign minister travel around the world to have the support of the European and others in regard with the Greenland, but their representative in the meeting of the Security Council about the invasion of Israeli regime and United States against Iran, this representative talked just against Iran, not United States. You see this hypocrisy
and crazy behavior.
And yes, unfortunately, the Islamic countries from the beginning, they were, always not only about Iran, about the Palestine, about many things, That's
Absolutely.
why, you see this situation, Israeli regime is attacking all countries. I assure you that in future they will do the same on another country, Islamic countries.
That's right. And they're doing it as we speak to Lebanon. Lebanon has always been a very, an issue for them with the defeat in 1982 when they've been withdrawn from Lebanon. and now they are bombarding Lebanon, and they're trying to flat
Absolutely.
Lebanon, just like Palestine.
Palestine.
In Gaza and West
they
Bank.
are doing the same in Iran.
They're doing the
But
same in
Iran is a big country
Yeah.
in many cities, but they are doing in daily basis.
Daily basis.
Everywhere.
This is a crazy situation, that's really. So, where United Nations come? I ask myself, what was the whole purpose of setting up this monster organization after Second World War to respect the countries, to respect the boundaries, international law? And Antonio Guterres is in my definition, is a weak man, because he's not effectively able to, in fact, enforce UNILEF, which is there in Lebanon, in which we have our own troops, Irish troops there, United Nations Liberation Force, as we call it, UNILEF, doing nothing, watching on the distance with the cameras and binoculars. They should be stopping that. They should be intervening into it while the country is under attack.
Who are the members of the United Nations?
Security Council, the 5 permanent members.
Particularly United States paying around 20% of the budget of the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is the host country, not only is the permanent member of the Security Council, have the very predominant role in the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
And many are also working in the Secretariat or from Western country, particularly from the United States. You cannot expect from United Nations to take a stance according to the justice and the fairness, you know.
Yeah.
And then the other that are the members of the United Nations, for example, countries in the Latin America, Africa, and Asia, they don't want to stand against United States, you know. They are just looking for their own interest. You saw that in the Security Council about Iran, you know. Even the countries from the third world country, they were very cautious and they didn't take any position according to justice and fairness, you know. And this is the United Nations. I can say now it's useless, organization.
It's disunited
Absolutely.
nation, completely disunited.
Yes.
Maybe in the future, perhaps the UN could be replaced by United Muslim Nations, if that dream can be realized somehow. And according to Larijani's final letter to all the Muslim neighboring country that he wrote, to say that according to our definition, it is in our belief and in our faith that you must support, your own Muslim brothers. And if you don't, you are not implementing the faith properly, which says in the Holy Book of Quran, in fact, if I may quote that, because it says that. So maybe perhaps we could have a parallel of that body, ICJ, not ICJ, the Islamic Conference, the countries of Islamic Conference convert into that. But again, it's a very difficult to convince aggressive Muslim nation, hostile Muslim nation.
Honestly speaking, I try to agree with you. But unfortunately, according to my own experience in the United Nations and to my own experience working on multilateral issues, knowing OIC, Organization
of
for
Islamic Conference, yeah.
I do not see any prospect for unity among the Muslim countries. The first and the most important, is in regard to Palestine. Where was the unity among themselves? And you cannot see even about one issue in the Organization of the Islamic Conference that they, are united about one issue. Maybe you can see among Arab countries in face of other Muslim countries, they take unity among themselves. But even between themselves, there are a lot of differences, That's why I'm not optimistic about these matters for the time being. I don't know, maybe in future
might be. Yeah. Because that's the reason is that in this century, loss of life and destruction it's become a new norm. And starting from Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Gaza, and now Iran and Lebanon.
Yes.
The whole region, it's not going to stop at all.
Yes.
And what is more disheartening to see that, obviously from my point of view, is to see that the countries who are against greater Muslim nations or Islam are joining hand into each other.
Absolutely.
Which is now, in the case of India, joining hands with Israel. In that sense that we have witnessed it. And I don't want to go into the details of the nitty-gritty details of because the governments can come and go. Present government, yes, is very much in the pockets of Israel. And we have witnessed that 2 days before the war. Our Mr. Modi has visited Israel and what is being discussed and all that. He's been criticized by the other opposition people. But that is the case. I think that is very, very interesting case. This is very, as I said, where you're going to stop this destruction of wealth, because obviously the region is full of natural resources, oil and gas. Could that be the case whereby United States, now debt in trillions and trillions of dollars, was trying to to capture the oil and gas interest of Iran, and in the Karg Island particularly, now they're sending troops, like 5,000 ground troops have been saying that we will open up the Hormuz and all that, Strait of Hormuz. What is your take on that? Do you think they will be successful in their dream?
As I said that at the beginning, they have, the important, goal that they have. United States want to, remain hegemon power in the world.
Dominant power in the world, yeah, absolutely.
Israel want to be a hegemon power in the Middle East. And unfortunately, because of the environment that exists in the, in the Middle East, he is just attacking all countries in the region, and he very cruelly, and in future they will follow this policy again. But for being a hegemon power, then you need to control the energy around the world, particularly first in Venezuela, now here, and to control energy, because you don't want to, let the other important country have access freely to this energy like China. And therefore, yes, this is their goal. And that's why they attacked Iran. Otherwise, you remember that just yesterday, the director of Anti-Terrorism Center of the United States resigned. And said that Iran was not threat to United States. Not only him. If you follow the literature and political discussion in United States, majority of the people and elite of the United States are against, Trump administration himself. And therefore, it is clear that the deep state in the United States and, the cartels and, important companies, rich people and the Zionist lobby over there, they are working to, control the energy in the region and to have dominant role in the region. And they attacked Iran. As I said, from the beginning, actually, we didn't welcome any war. We just were working very hard to negotiate on nuclear matters. But now we have been attacked. We don't have any choice except to fight back, very fiercely. And we are doing that, and our people very united, standing on our own feet, and we are doing for the time being, very good. And although it is very, very difficult, very critical situation, we lost a lot of our, officials and our
Good
people and infrastructure. But for us, there is no other
option.
way.
There's
We
no
should
option.
resist
Yeah.
this
The
situation.
last, I would quickly cover two issues which I wanted to cover was that nuclear issue. They always used as an excuse for that. And Iran has always said that, look, I have given you the access of the international nuclear body to come and check it and everything. Our nuclear program is always for peaceful purposes, for medical use and things like that. But now the world who has nuclear, perhaps Iran should declare that we have a right to have a nuclear weapon as a deterrent, so you cannot actually bully us anymore.
From the beginning, that even our late Supreme Leader said he issued fatwa that it's haram. And we are the members of the NPT. And, the IAEA had access, beyond the NPT and the IAEA, to our nuclear sites. Therefore, everything was very, clear. And we have been in negotiation with them. Unfortunately, they attacked Iran. And this may, lead some countries in the region and in the world that, okay, if we are going to be attacked by big power, why we should not, defend ourselves with sophisticated weapons and so on, who knows?
Who knows in that? Absolutely. Yes. And one point I would really like to double mention it is that last program, is that the crisis in the region, UAE, Qatar, and all the other Bahrain and all these places where the heavily presence of these Americans are existing, and those are the places are under attack because Iran does not want them to be present in Iraq. I've been to in Baghdad, and I've seen the way how heavily fortified the American embassy there and all that. What are they doing there? Why they want to be there? Except the fact that they are draining the wealth of those nations and imposing that, we are minding you, therefore you got to pay us trillions. Recently, Donald Trump went over there and he got a gold plane from Qatar. For what? Gold plane? Hello. It's a game going on here that you have to make happy to the child and all that. But this kind of nonsense and draining of the wealth of the nations around us, trillions of dollars we're talking about, is the reason for why Iran wants to get rid of these bases. Do you think Iran will be successful in getting rid of them?
Actually, from the beginning, long time ago, we, that we have been always, very respectful toward our neighbors, despite of their support of Saddam Hussein during the war against Iran. We forgot about that, and we have been in close relation with them. But we said from the beginning that these military bases of United States in your country are used against my country, spying against my country, and many of our official nuclear scientists have been killed
because of
by
that.
Spying from this, and we said from the beginning. And this time, during last few months, after the last June's war, 12-day war, we said many times that this time, if we have been attacked by United States or Israel, we will attack the military bases of and their assets wherever.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we attack your country because you do not have any control of their military bases.
Correct.
And this is our right because we are under threat by these military bases.
Obviously.
And this is something that it is not just now they were surprised, from the beginning we said to them, this is the rate of any country.
Yeah, because directly hitting to US is difficult across the
absolutely.
Distance and all that.
And they attacked us from this military base.
This military basis, absolutely. Thank you very much, Ambassador. I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for clarifying these thorny issues. These are the issues that our listeners don't know, and we are here at the local radio station only trying to educate people in and around who are listeners. So I'm sure that we will be inviting you again just to discuss other things, because many things I would like to talk about it, which I don't have time much to discuss that, particularly the sinking of the Iranian peaceful ship in the Indian Ocean and many other issues and things like that. But for the minute, I would like to congratulate you for the month of Ramadan, that we are continuing the month of Ramadan. And the Eid, hopefully, will be in a couple of days' time. And so therefore, I have chosen a song, which is the Eid song. It's a very typical Indian songs. They celebrate for Ramadan, they celebrate for Eid and all that. So I would ask Richard to play, I think, the song to go ahead with that. And many thanks once again before I'll sign you off for coming along to the studio and taking the time in your busy schedule to discussing the matters.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you.
अल्लाह ही अल्लाह छा गया, चाँद नजर आ गया, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह छा गया, रोजे रखने वालों की है ये जीत, मिलो तुम गले सबसे आई है ईद, मुबारक मुबारक आई है ईद, ईद मुबारक आई है ईद, चाँद नजर आ गया, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह छा गया, रोजे रखने वालों की है ये जीत, मिलो तुम गले सबसे आई है ईद, मुबारक मुबारक आई है ईद, ईद मुबारक आई है ईद।
जी हाँ मेरे भाइयों, that is an Eid Mubarak song, and as you probably would know that I was talking to the Iranian ambassador to Ireland, Mr. Eshhaq Al-Habib, who was kind enough to come into the studio to talk to our listeners, to Apna Radio, talking about the crisis in the Middle East. And I will continue to follow up on the various other issues which are, I was unable to do so because of the lack of time. And he was under pressure as well to go because there was many issues. When you open the can of worm of war, you realize there's so much in the war itself. The attack on the infrastructure, as he mentioned, and then attack on the monument. Iran has got a very United Nations credited architect, religious sites, particularly in Mashhad, where the seventh Imam's holy shrine exists, and many other places where they have a beautiful site. If you have any opportunity to go there, you will realize that how much they pride their architect in their existence, and that architect is under attack. They are sort of destroying all of that, but unfortunately, they will not be successful in their mission. Although they are doing the biggest mistake by committing 5,000 troops, ground troops now, going over to Iran, and Iranians troops are saying that yes, we will take care of them, we will welcome them, and hopefully they will not be going back They'll only be going back in the coffins rather than on foot. So this is the situation, and I'll be talking about that. But talking about Ramadan, it's coming to an end, and today is the last day of Ramadan. Hopefully the next, day would be Eid, and Eid will be celebrated, as you have heard in the song, worldwide, all over the world, here in Dublin as well. Many people are looking forward to celebrating the Eid even in the middle of the war, and particularly, I think, in Iran, and most of the countries, in fact, have declared that they're not going to celebrate it because in the wake of the killing of the two most important people and many other important people during this war, late Sayyid Ali Khamenei, the Rahbar and the spiritual leader of the globe, and of course the security head, Ali Larijani. So hopefully he'll be replaced by that's what happens in the war. And one thing he said recently before he was attacked, that he was actually offering the invitation to the neighboring countries in his letter. And he says that we do accept the brotherly relationship with a neighboring country, but nobody is coming forward to help us. And therefore, and he said that we don't hide in bunkers. Of course, in the war, that's what you do. You hide in the bunker. He said, no, we are the followers of Hussein, who stood alone on the plains of Karbala 1,400 years ago. And I covered in my program and this particular issue many times. And Hussein was the grandson of Prophet Muhammad. Imam Hussein, his name was. And he stood alone on the battlefield of Karbala, which is in Iraq. And he said he's not going to run away with that. He had an option to go from a different route. But in the face of a tyrant, the bully, the atrocities were committed to the family of him and the entire group of people that he was leading the caravan. And he obviously was cut down, mercilessly cut down, exactly in the way right now the leaders of Iranian government, Iranian spiritual leaders, politicians, and the people. However, the soldiers are on the ground fighting bravely, and they are shocking the world by the brave resistance that they have actually putting up to the whole thing. So all of that is really, pushes me to realize that this is a brave nation. It is a nation which never actually invaded anybody, as rightly the ambassador has said, and also not bowing to the humiliation, because the world want to humiliate you or the brave people, and particularly the people with the energy wealth of oil and gas, so they can control all of that. So this is the bottom line is, because the wars are always about money and all that. So that's what not going to happen, hopefully, and it will be, it'll be end soon. The world would realize that nobody is, friendly with Donald Trump anymore. Many countries have stopped offering help to Donald Trump, who has been looking for help. Send your ships, send your, NATO. No, thank you very much. We don't want to get involved with your war. It's your war. Unilaterally, you and the Israelis have decided to go for this war. You never consulted with anybody. You never, talked to Europe, talked to anybody else. Anyway, that's another day's work and another day's discussion, because the world is a complex place, and how geopolitics worked is a very, very, very complicated place, complicated things to talk about it. Yes, the one point that I would like to clarify is that the Strait of Hormuz, the narrowest strip of water that has been the world's 25% oil passes through, gas passes through, that area is very much controlled by the Iranians, because that's in their Iranian territorial water. And they have said that we have absolutely no problem with anybody. It is open. It's not closed, except for our enemies, United States and Israel. Their ships will not be allowed. And on top of that, interestingly, the hegemony of the petrodollar is going to reduce now. They said, look, yes, any country can take the oil and the gas, but the payment has to be in yen, Chinese yen, rather than in dollars. So the petrodollars will be destroyed, hopefully, after this war, and the balance of power will shift somewhere else. With all these thoughts, I would like to thank our technical team here, Richard, and all the other people, Charmaine for the news, and of course for suggesting some pointers and the questions, Eshhaq in London. We come to the close of the program, and I shall be back same time, same place next week. So bye for now. Happy Eid, and I'll be talking about many other interesting things. Bye for now.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम वालेकुम सलाम ओ काले बुर्के वाली बता दे अपना नाम हाय अस्सलाम वालेकुम वालेकुम सलाम ओ काले बुर्के वाली बता दे अपना नाम
बन के दीवाना तू जिद पे अड़ा है क्या होगा आगे ये तुझको पता है
आगे वो होगा जो तकदीर में है तू मेरे ख्वाबों की ताबीर में है
पीछे नहीं आना तू बातें न बनाना तू मुझे तेरी बातों में आना नहीं है
पीछा नहीं छोड़ूंगा दिल से दिल जोड़ूंगा दिल तो है आशिक दीवाना नहीं है
दिल वालों की तो पुरानी है नीत
मिलो तुम गले सबसे आई है ईद मुबारक मुबारक आई है ईद ईद मुबारक आई है ईद